Gather round, dads, it's time for a tale. Hand me a book and a warm pint of ale. Let's discuss writing and the literary gods with Dan Roberts on the Dad Lit Pod.
Welcome to the Dad Lit Podcast, the literary podcast for people who will turn this goddamn car around if you don't quiet down back there. Tonight I'm joined by David Afsharirad. He is a senior editor at ARK Press. He is the editor of several anthologies, including the upcoming Swords Larceny, which he co-edited with Mark Finn. He was an editor at Baen Books for many years. His short stories have appeared in various anthologies and magazines. And he is here tonight to talk to us about ARK and how ARK plans to save genre fiction. David, welcome.
Hey, thanks so much for having me on. I'm excited to do the podcast here with you today.
Yeah, David, I forgot I should have asked, uh, and I'm going to del fix that. I forgot I should have asked, are you a dad?
Oh yeah, yeah. So you may hear the three one or more of the 1 to 3 kids in the background right now.
Three?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So yeah, 2 boys and a girl. So and it's we just well I bounced out at dinner early and so they'll be getting ready for bed, so there may be screaming. We'll see. That will add authenticity to the podcast here.
To the Dadlet experience. My family is blissfully on vacation without me this
Oh,
week,
okay.
which has been a godsend because it's allowed me to do that many more fun podcasts with
Yeah, I
interesting
bet. Yeah.
people like yourself. So, David, tell me about ARC. What is it? What are you trying to do?
Yeah, well, so the big picture is ARK Press. We're a genre fiction publisher. We say that very broadly. I mean, mostly I think will be science fiction and fantasy, but you know, thrillers and espionage novels and um, historical fiction, alternate history, sort of anything broadly fits in genre. And really, we kind of how we've been wording it is we do consider literary fiction a genre. So, you know,
Hmm.
if there's something that we think that grabs us and we think there's a our audience would like, that's just a straight mainstream novel, we'll do that too. So we came out, all three of us. So there's three of us really on the team, although we're part of sort of a larger um, corporate structure. But the ARC Press is really just it's me, uh, DJ Butler, Dave Butler, and editor in chief Tony Daniel. And this really was his brainchild, and he saw a need for a what we're wanting to do. And our motto is the humans win in the end. And so uh what that looks like exactly may not always be the same from book to book. And I imagine there may be some books that people are like, did the humans win in the end? How you interpret that. But uh we're trying to have a sort of an overall positive net effect. And also, I love, I ran across you guys on X and the Dad Lit Pod. And I thought, man, this is perfect for us because one thing we want to do is we do think in the current year, 2025, that there are a lot of stories for not exclusively for men, but that appeal to men, dads being a subset of that, that are not finding homes that maybe deserve to. And we want to be an outlet for that as well. So while that doesn't mean we're only going to publish books by men or we would never have a book with a female protagonist, that's certainly not the case. We
Hmm.
do want to sort of have an outlook of fiction for guys inclusively. And women are, of course, encouraged to read our books as well and buy multiple copies. So we're not, right? But that is sort of the thing, and we also kind of, quite frankly, are viewing ourselves. What we want to do is also bring real quality.
Mhm.
And there is a lot of space out there now for indies and independent writers and people doing it on their own. And we've got a lot of respect for anybody who is, grinding it out and hustling and making their living doing that. It's a hard thing to do. And there's a lot of great stuff that's being published there. But there is also by the nature of it, then a floodgate of the floodgates have been opened, and finding things can be hard because of the fact that, I mean, now it's not even a person's bad book, it's AI's bad book, right?
Yeah.
And so we do see ourselves as kind of tastemakers and gatekeepers, hopefully not with too much of a negative connotation to that, but we want to curate things that we think are worthwhile and that readers will connect with and help people to find these stories, um, through us. So
Well, that's you've said a lot that I'm very interested in. I want to start just with the concept of building a genre publisher that is inclusive for male authors and male readers. I talk about a lot about the field of dreams concept of male readership, which is if you build it, they will come. Would
mhm.
you say that that's kind of what you guys are aiming for? This idea that if you build a quality press that is inclusive of and seeks out and seeks to create things that male readers will get interested in, that you're going to attract those male readers.
Yeah, I mean that's certainly our hope. Hopefully they show up, hopefully they come. But yeah, I mean, right, have to be careful because it gets so hyperbolic online. I mean, that's the
Yeah,
nature of
yeah, yeah. No, I know. Yeah.
like people say things like trad pub hasn't put a single book out for men in 45 years or whatever,
Yeah,
right?
that's not accurate.
And that's not
Yes.
accurate. I mean, it's I think that's sort of a silly attitude to take. And often I think it's a marketing kind of ploy on some people's parts, right?
Yeah.
But I also think it's silly to be like to not look at the landscape and say, man, um, there is not a lot here right now, um, that is going to appeal to men, right? And I think it doesn't have to be a grand conspiracy. I think
Hmm.
I think of it as like newspapers, right? In that newspapers used to be everywhere, for one thing, and so it was a journalism was sort of a working class career in many ways, and you had people from different walks of lives working in newspapers. And then over the course of, I don't know, whatever, a century, the last 50 years, whatever it would be, it really became, right, like the same handful of journalism schools turned out all the journalists. And so you just, it doesn't have to be this wicked conspiracy of like, it just becomes a monoculture. And um, that's what happened. And I think to some extent, or to a great extent even, that has happened in traditional publishing where you were just sort of getting um, the same sort of viewpoints expressed, uh, you know, with obvious exceptions, right? But from the big publishers in New York and from the agents and from the editors. And I say it's not a conspiracy, and I don't think it is, but you also have, I mean, I've heard agents say like, we're not interested in straight white men, right? And like, well, what do you do with that? And so we are hoping and we think that if we can put out things that men that will appeal to men, right? That men have
Yeah.
not necessarily given up on reading, right? They felt
Mhm.
left behind by it, maybe. So
Well, I know, I'll say this. I'll say this. In my conversations with dad-lit authors, um, there there are certainly a couple of areas that come up very frequently, right? Which is dad-lit authors find very few places that they can send their books to.
Mhm.
They feel sort of a narrower vision of who is interested in buying their books at an institutional level. Now, this doesn't mean that independent authors aren't having success. It just means that traditional institutional publishers, agents, etc., that they tend to have a more difficult time selling their books to those people. The other side is that there is almost a default when I talk to them about the classics. I say, you know, what is, the book that really inspires you or the book that you think about, particularly in the fantasy genre and the science fiction genre. They always default to the classic authors of Heinlein, Frank Herbert's Dune. They're also the Star Wars extended universe, which was murdered by Disney, which we're all very upset about, including me. I actually really liked those books, and there were a lot of talented authors that were writing them. What they seem to have a difficult time finding is contemporary authors that fit within that schema or that tackle those types of stories. Is your goal to is your goal to do something different than that, or to sort of harken back to that golden age of those types of stories? I suppose is my
Yeah, that's a good
question.
question. Great question. And yeah, I think you're in a great position to sort of, as you said, by interviewing authors and now me, an editor, and to kind of have your finger on the pulse of this. So it's cool to hear your experiences as well.
Oh yeah, I have
Yeah.
all sorts of marketing suggestions for you. We're going to get to that. Yeah.
Hey, great.
Yes.
And but yeah, so this is great to be on. And so I think so, right? I always want to be so careful with this stuff because, you know, I think this happened early on. We said we want to be a publisher that men will like, right? And
Yeah.
then some people are like, so bare-fisted action stories. And you're like, well, maybe, but that's one
Hmm.
slice of that, right? So I don't want to paint us into corners and accidentally.
Yes.
Right. So I think when we say like harkening back, I don't want people to hear, you know, um, behind line, right? Uh,
Yeah. Yeah.
and that's not all that we're interested in because we do think of ourselves, and particularly Tony Daniel, editor in chief, he's always good at keeping me, especially, um, like, man, we're not doing retro, right? Like,
Yeah.
we don't want to, we might do a retro book, right? But like the point is not to be a throwback, except for in sort of a spiritual sense of, we kind of use this early, like the great American novel and the great American genre novel. And that's what we want to be. We want to be sort of the books. We want to think about those books from like sort of the heyday of the bestseller. We obviously want to have bestsellers, right? But
Yeah.
when books were sort of like a TV series or something that people talked about, right?
Yeah.
And that people had read, and they offered a great story and great characters, but in some way, whether it was like obvious or not, it did speak to something in the times, right? And I don't mean that
Hmm.
they were topical necessarily, right? But they hit on something. And so I think, yeah, I think what you said is true. I think by nature of the fact that they're classics, people have read the classics, and so that's what we go to. But it is a little bit disheartening, when you're like, man, all these books that people are saying, guys especially, are saying they love are 70 years old. Like, what's going on?
Yes. That's a
I
hundred
want someone
percent.
to talk about, something ideally, I would love it for one of our books to be that book for people, right? And I mean,
Yeah.
and I don't mean I would love it 70 years from now, but I would love it to be, 3 years from now or next year even. But like, right, like,
Yeah.
people are like,
Yeah.
man, this is a touchstone for me. Touchstone, rather. Touchstone is what.
Well, now you've hit upon one of my favorite concepts, which is, can we even have touchstones in
Yeah, I mean
the
that's the question.
throwaway age.
Right. Yeah. When there was two television channels and they went off the air, it was a lot easier for everyone to have seen I Love Lucy, right?
Yeah.
Um, so in a way, it's hard. It's an uphill battle, but I think it's still a worthy one to fight. And I
Hmm.
think, yeah, realistically, are we ever going to see? Well, but another, I don't know, Stephen King or something, right? Where everybody has, he's this cultural icon of an author. I don't know, but I would like to think so. And I would like, when we're out there looking for, someone. So, yeah, I hope that answers the question.
Yeah, that answers the question
Yeah.
to some extent. So one of the icons currently at ARK is Larry Correa,
Yeah.
and he has a new book coming out. I think his, because I was listening to you, you have a YouTube channel called the Gopherwood Lounge.
Yeah. Dave Butler is sort of host there, but I have been
Yes.
on a few times. Yeah. People could, I'll plug it real quick. Yeah. Gopherwood Lounge over at YouTube. And, um, we talk about ARC stuff, but we also just want to sort of be broadly literature and culture sort of space too,
Yeah,
used
and
to talk about things we like talking about.
yeah, I mean, this welcome to the Dadlit Pod. I know all about that. Uh, so you're having Larry is sort of anchoring your your fantasy intro. Would you say is that
Oh yeah,
fairly
yeah.
accurate?
For sure.
So his new book, why don't you tell us about it and how it exhibits qualities that exemplify kind of what ARC is aiming for? Would that make sense?
Yeah, for sure. No,
Yeah.
that's a great question. So yeah, I mean, we knew, um, we've been really blessed to use that, I think, an appropriate word at ARC with our situation, where we are not having to do this uh, for the love, in our free time, in our garages, right? Putting
Hmm.
together a zine or something. And so we wanted to take advantage of that, and we wanted to uh, make the investment that we have from others in us, really, we knew we needed to start big. And
Hmm.
we knew Larry, was sort of diversifying his, um, where he's appearing, where he's selling things, however you want to put it. And we all knew Larry. Dave lives up in his neck of the woods. They hang out from time to time. Tony was Larry's editor in another past life, as it were. And so we approached him about doing this, and he was really on board, and we were very excited about it. And so yeah, this is sort of, so Larry, for those who don't know, is a New York Times bestseller, Wall Street Journal bestseller, award winner, and he started with a book called Monster Hunter International, which is sort of like more gun heavy Ghostbusters, I guess, right?
So it's
It's
Supernatural, the
Yeah,
series
yeah, yeah,
Supernatural on
supernatural-esque. And
TV. Yeah.
so, sort of broadly urban fantasy, if you want to think of it that way.
Yeah.
And that series has been very successful for him. And he's also branched out and done other things, which we've really been fans of. Son of the Black Sword, Saga of the Forgotten Warrior. That's the same thing. And then other things here and there. The Grim Noir Chronicles, our trilogy, is a fan favorite amongst his fans. Um, but we were like, man, we really want to see you sort of return to that thing that made Larry big in the first place, which was this sort of bare knuckles. We are doing a bare knuckles story, right? Uh,
Hmm.
Hero sort of story in an urban fantasy setting, a modern America. But this is different. So it's called American Paladin, and it follows a guy named Mike Spears, and he is it's sort of the big differentiation among many, but sort of if you think of these versus Monster Hunter International is he's a loner, right? Monster Hunter International is
Mhm.
all about the team. And this is a guy who is a drifter and a loner. And what I love about it is that it really draws on Larry's upbringing in the West. And so it's in many ways we're drawing on Paladin, less from the D&D right side of things, although there is a little of that, of course, right, and more from the old Have Gun Will Travel Paladin, so it's a modern day Western, um, and it's sort of the missing 411, strange happenings. And the thing I love is the creepiness that he draws from the West. Like Monster Hunter International for him, tend to be a little bit more south. And I think we've seen so many horror or horror adjacent novels set up in New England or the Midwest, and like this sense of like these wide open spaces and like bright skies. But that's horrific, can be horrific in another way. And so I love how he's drawn on that, and really brought that sense of it. And so yeah, so Larry's book will not be the first book out
Mhm.
in print, but we are doing a Kickstarter for it. If I may talk about and that
Yeah,
that
absolutely,
went out.
absolutely.
Yeah.
What
So
is a one second, because Larry
sure, no, go
talked
ahead.
about this on Twitter today, where he talked about what the benefits of doing a Kickstarter are with him having a publisher. And to my thought, it's sort of the idea of anticipating printing, right? That by having a Kickstarter, you can anticipate how many books you're going to sell initially and then have some left over. But I'd like to hear it. It's sort of interesting.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. I don't know how much down in the weeds we want to dig, but I'm happy to talk about it. Yeah, I think Kickstarter probably started.
Yeah.
It was very much about a guy in his garage, maybe, right? And it still
Hmm.
is, but um, it was sort of the idea was I don't have the money to do this unless you guys back it, right?
Yeah.
And I think that is still a model that people still use that model. That's a great model. I
Yeah.
think that is still what has stuck in some people's heads, and so they think, well, you were a publisher, why are you doing Kickstarter?
Yeah.
And so we're not doing it for that reason. We could just put this out, right?
Yeah.
We've got the facilities and money and everything to do that. The better way to think of this is really it's just a pre-order, right?
Yeah.
But we are new, and so Kickstarter is one. It's a way to get visibility for us, right? And
Hmm.
and selfishly, we want to make money and we want to make Larry money, but also, we want the fans to see this, and we want people who might not be familiar with us or even with Larry who might be interested in this to see it. So this is just an easy way to get a lot of eyes on this book, which we think is going to be awesome and a lot of people are going to like, right?
Yeah.
Um, the other thing is it will it's an easy way for us to get cool swag and stuff to people that's
Hmm.
not cumbersome. It's if we put the book up on Amazon and we're going to make a hat, the hat's going to be at a different site or it's going to be only on our site, but you bought the book on Amazon, so you know there's a hat, right?
Yeah.
So we wanted to do all these cool bells and whistles and neat things for this first big release, and we'll do it in the future too, probably. And so
Hmm.
this is just a really convenient way to have everything in one place and people can buy what they want, right? Same
Hmm.
thing with like the special editions. We'll s- we'll see. We may have some for sale after the Kickstarter ends. They may sell out, but the idea being, this is just the best way for it to be at this point in our development as a company. For you to see, well, do you want this one or that one, right? The
Yeah.
regular edition or the special edition. So that's really what it is. It's basically it's just you're pre-ordering this stuff, right?
Hmm.
One thing that so another thing that with the book, we're really launching the whole series. The book is obviously the main attraction, but that won't come out until next year. And so we wanted to give people something they could look forward to a little sooner. And so one thing Tony Daniel has been adamant about was we wanted to give people something that they could have for Christmas. And so
Mhm.
we Larry wrote his first ever graphic novel script, and Alex Wisner did all the art, and that's at the it's either at the printers or it's about to be at the printer. So that will you don't have to buy that if you're not a graphic novel person, but if you do, that's going to ship early, and you're going to get that in time for the holidays, just to sort of you know hold you over until the novel comes out.
Yes,
So
it
yeah, exactly.
satiate
Yeah,
the Larry fans.
yeah.
The you're also doing a book series for boys in the sort of Hardy Boys concept called American Treasure Hunters.
Yeah,
Do
that's
you
our
want to
other.
talk about that?
Yeah, just let me real quick. So just so
Oh,
everyone knows, September 9th is when the Kickstarter will go up, and you can sign up for updates on that if you're interested. And oh, this is another question everybody asks. We have already signed Nick Searcy to narrate the audiobook. So there will be audio, and it will come out at the same time as the novel. So if you are a person who likes audio, that will be there. Okay, shifting to American Treasure Hunters. Yeah.
yes.
This is another sort of in-house project that we wanted to do because um as much as there's a problem with men not reading, there's a maybe bigger problem with boys not reading, right? And uh and it's interesting, man, right? Like when we were kicking all this stuff around, my worry was I'm like, man, are we gonna seem like weirdos? Like no one's talking about this. And then like we started up at like I think we hit a moment, and I'm thankful for that, because you got you, and I just see all over people are talking about this kind of issues. I mean, even like
Mhm.
mainstream media outlets are talking about the problem with men and boys not reading. Sometimes their reasoning is pretty rock-headed, but at least they're talking about it, right? Um, so yeah, so this was an idea that we had, that we wanted to do this Hardy Boys-esque um, thing. It's sort of Hardy Boys crossed with National Treasure,
Mhm.
with some Outer Banks scooped into it. And so yeah, and there's like three novels are ready to go. They're on the short side, like Hardy Boys are, and it's three friends. In They live in a fictional town in North Carolina,
Mhm.
and they get pulled into various treasure hunting things. And the thing with it too is we tried to, you know, they all have like real history in them too. That they're not boring lectures, but there's a pretty decent chunk of like this is actually a real thing. Um, in them. If not the actual treasure, then the characters and the events around the treasure. So
Mhm.
yeah, and we're not sure. We kind of hope maybe we were going to get those out for Christmas, but I don't know that we are. Um, it's probably going to be next spring and summer that those come out.
Mhm. So, and this has been asked. If you had a dream list, I'm not going to use manuscript wish list because that website makes me sad. But if you had if you had a list right now of what you and Dave and Tony were interested in seeing, the sort of genre books or things that you guys are all interested in that you feel need a revamp, need to be back out there, that you think that you would love and that dads would love. What would be on that list?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I can tell you what Dave will tell you not to put on the list. Dave is particularly averse to like hard magic, right?
Yeah.
Uh, and he has spoken about this eloquently, question mark, on many podcasts.
What is hard magic?
What's that?
What's hard magic? Like what we saw in Weapons, for example?
So like Brandon Sanderson, right, is the king of this, right? So
Oh, okay.
what it is, right, is it's I think essentially, and this is not really my world, to be honest with you,
Yeah.
but it's taking sort of magic systems from gaming tabletop gaming,
Oh,
and then
okay.
applying them to novels, right?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
while that's great in the gaming because you have to have that sort of thing, or that you can't have a
Yes.
game, it's sort of, I think he can talk about this much more at length than I can, has sort of, man, it's I think it's been so overdone as part of it, right? Because
Okay.
of Sanderson's success with it, that now it feels like everyone's just like the magic system is what you have to have.
Hmm.
I think all of us are probably, look, all everything I'm going to say is, of course, with an asterisk of unless it works, or when I say we will love this, it's like unless it's bad, right? That's always the danger here.
Yes.
But I think we're all, one thing that's really come across, and we joke about it because this American Paladin is Larry's book, and then we have American Treasure Hunters. We're just like, just putting the word American in everything. We have, the other thing to talk about is, briefly, is we do have a novel contest. Maybe we'll come back to that, but it's
Yeah,
American
yeah. Let's come
22nd.
back to it. Let's come back to
Yeah,
it.
and so we're just like putting American and everything. But I do think actually that is a pretty big hint. I think
Yes.
we're all pretty. I mean this, I guess politically, but culturally pro America, and
Yeah.
we're not above things criticizing America, certainly, or American institutions or anything like that. But that we are all American, and we're all interested in things that feel very American, in however you want to interpret what that means.
Yeah.
But I think, a really, again, I think we would publish a sort of Tolkien-esque, very British in its mythology sort of thing. But I think that's less likely to sort of make our eyes light up than something that feels more homegrown and homespun, on this side of the pond, if you will, right?
Hmm.
I think we definitely would love, 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 love to have like a big, um, Dune-esque kind of space opera sort of thing. Um, I think we really just, science fiction, good science fiction in general, that's the hardest thing to come by.
Hmm.
I mean, our ratio of science fiction to fantasy to other things is, really tilted heavily towards other stuff. And I think that's true across the board.
Well, what is that? What do you mean? You're getting a lot more fantasy than you're
Yeah,
getting
you get a
science
lot more
fiction?
fantasy novels, or you get science fiction novels that are really fantasy novels, right? That you're like,
Okay.
and I don't mean we want necessarily things that are super nuts and bolts and cold equations kind of science
Hmm.
fiction, but stuff that really does look like, right? Like I love sort of, what I mean, well, Star Wars, I guess,
Yeah,
right,
I mean,
is an example, but sort of,
yes.
I don't know, it's a fun retro throwback kind of thing where we're got blasters and stuff, but like that's probably not what the future is going to really look like, right? So stuff that is sort of thoughtfully extrapolated. um I think we would love to see more of that. um I would also, we have said, where's broadly genre fiction. I would love to get more like mysteries and thrillers in the mix too. So if you're out there and you
Hmm.
write that stuff, send it our way. um
How salty are your detectives allowed to be? Because I've been told that the salty, drunken detective is passé in America today. Do you guys want
I
a
think it's okay.
drunken?
I think it shouldn't feel, I don't want it to feel tired, right? I mean, that's sort
Yes.
of the thing with all of this, right? Is sort of, um these tropes. It's just, you want it to feel fresh and exciting,
Hmm.
and not gimmicky either, right? Like, um
You want weight. This is what
yeah,
I talk about. This is what I
yeah,
talk
that's, I think
about.
that's a great way to put it. Yeah.
That much of contemporary genre fiction, and also television, and movies suffers from a lack of weight, a lack of stakes, um, a lack of consequence, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's great. Yeah, man, that's an interesting point, and that's a great way to put it. A lack of consequence. That really
Yes.
is good. Co-signed. I agree. Yeah, I think there's so you want the status quo. You cannot have the status quo. I mean, it can be restored, but something has got to have changed.
Yeah.
Um, and I think the character. I think look, we want the humans to win in the end. This is our motto. We want we're not looking for like really bleak, grim, dark kind of stuff, noir,
Hmm.
even really bleak noir, which I love personally, right? But at the same time, I think too many people hear that and think like two-dimensional good guy, right? And that's not the case either.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, that's interesting. What is going on with the 2076 prize?
Yeah, so this was another thing. You can tell Tony Daniel, was the mastermind behind this, that he wanted to do a big splashy novel writing prize.
Hmm.
And so it is called the theme is America 2076, and the winner will be released in 2026. 2076, if you do the math, is 300th anniversary of Declaration of Independence.
Hmm.
2026 next year is then the 250th. And
250.
so, we just thought as broadly as you want it to be,
Yeah.
um, the theme is America 2076. I think the obvious way to do that, and I think and when I say obvious, that maybe that sounds like I don't want you to do it. I think, that's not the case, right? I think sort of where your mind automatically goes is, well, I'll set it in 2076. That would be great. Uh, but if you want to do something else with it, maybe it's set further in the future and 2076 was some sort of inflection point, right?
Mm.
Maybe it's something totally, maybe 2070, it could be fantasy, right? Davis said like maybe 2076 is when elves that live under that super volcano in Yellowstone come out and America is ruled by
That's,
magic
I
or something,
mean, it's good a
right?
year as any.
Yeah, so it could be, whatever.
Do
But
you
it
have to mention the year 2076 in the?
No, I don't think
Oh,
so.
okay.
We've
Okay.
we've kind of said do what you want to do. Yeah, it could be. I don't even know what it could be. Uh, but the winner will get it's a $10,000 advance contract. So it's not even just $10,000 a lump. I mean, if it earns out, and we hope it will, and we'll do everything in our power to make it so you'll get royalties and everything else. We've also said, there will be one winner, but if we like another book, we're probably going to make an offer on it.
Hmm.
And that ends pretty soon. I don't know, October something.
Hmm.
So, get on it because we would love to see, and if Orson Scott Card wants to enter this, he's welcome to.
He
But
does follow the Dad Lit Pod
you know,
Twitter
right? Okay, great. Send us a book.
when he's
But
giving his clinics on
yeah,
Twitter. Gives his
uh,
writing clinics.
yeah. So my point is like, right, this you don't have to be a first time author, like, right? But
Yeah.
it would be cool if it was though, right?
Yeah.
And so we have a website, it's ARK.press, and you can go to contest and see more about it there. But this was just man, we really wanted to sort of I always like themes if they're not too specific, we kind of wanted to leave this one open, and I just think it would be a cool, if it gets your brain working, we'd love to see that book by.
Yeah, I mean
Yeah.
to summarize, it sounds like what you're looking for is a novel that celebrates the spirit of America within the confines of something interesting.
Yeah, I think
That
that's
that
great.
which I think is terrific and very exciting. And so you brought up politics. Now, the Dadlit pod is actually pretty we try to be neutral
Mhm.
in our political persuasion, though I may personally lean one way or the other, and I may produce things that are, different than that. But dads exist all throughout. Is there a political bent to ARK?
Yes,
Other than obviously America's great or
yeah, yeah,
America's
yeah, worth
different.
something, right?
Yeah, worth something.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. Um, I mean, man, that's a thorny question, I guess, right? Um, we are, um, God, how to answer this? We would be happy to look at a book by anybody. We
Yeah.
would be happy to look at a book that doesn't, uh, you know, reflect exactly any one of the editor's values, right?
Hmm.
Or certainly politics, right? Um, I do think we are less interested in sort of identity politics, if that makes
Hmm.
sense. And by less interested, I mean not interested, right? You know, so that can signal what it signals, I guess, right? To whatever, however you want to interpret that.
Yes. So you're
Um,
probably not looking for critical feminist perspective expressed through tree people.
yeah, probably not, right?
Yes. Yeah,
And
that's what I mean.
and you know, specifically on the America 2076 thing, just because I think that is kind of a good like jumping off point, is Dave had this funny line off the cuff that we've repeated now. He's like, "Look, your book does not have to be pro-America. It can be anti-America. The winning book will not be, but you can write whatever you want." You know, right? So I I
Yeah, but
think
this is to say, uh, one, two of my favorite classic sci-fi novels are The Forever War
mhm,
and The Moon is a Harsh Mistress. I
sure.
think if you were to present either of those in the 2076,
Yeah, they
yeah,
would
that
probably win.
they
Yeah,
would be
right.
well received.
Yeah, they would
They'd
be
be well
exactly. Yeah.
received. Yes.
Yeah, and so um I think maybe that answers it. We are certainly not um look, okay, I'll put it this way. So there's another two books that we have under contract, right?
Yeah.
They're by two women actually. So we will publish The Ladies. And some
Yes.
people got mad at us for that. It's like we said we're books that men will like. If you can't
Yes.
read a book by a girl, I don't know what to tell you. Right?
There are many great dadlit books
Right.
written by women,
Yeah, exactly.
and I would love to get those women on the show. They're
Yeah,
just incredibly successful, and they don't
right,
have time,
sure.
like my
Um,
wife.
um, but what was I going to say? Oh yeah, so it is Megan Basham and Peachy Keenan are the two authors, and like they
Yes.
are both uh well-known, uh pretty far right of center,
Yeah, internet personalities.
internet personality columns.
I think the term is Hegelian e-girls.
Okay, if you say so. Right. And so my point is this, right? Those books are probably going to reflect their worldview, right?
Yeah.
And but we signed them because Tony Daniel worked at conservative nonfiction press, so he had these connections, and he just knows, he's like, and they can really write, and
Hmm.
I and they have expressed to him like, I've always wanted to write a novel, right? And so it's
Yeah.
like, man, yes, right. um that said, we're not publishing their like conservative nonfiction, right? That's not what
Hmm.
we're doing. We're telling stories. And so I look, there's going to be people who are going to say that we're right wing, and okay, if you want to call us that,
Well, you know.
that's going to be fine with us, right?
Fiction for men does tend to have a right
It
wing,
tends,
or
right. And so
more accurately, conservative, individualistic, pro
right.
freedom, self defense, violence. It's that's it. That's what American men look like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I think that maybe answers it, right? Is
Hmm.
that we're okay with what people want to call us. We are uh not gonna we're not gonna publish books that we find, offensive to our like deeply deeply offensive to our sensibilities, but we're not going to publish things because of an ideological framework, I guess is
Yeah.
the way to put it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a question that gets asked a lot,
No, yeah, I think that's fair.
and I think it's interesting because some presses are publishing from a heavily ideological framework in
Yeah.
America today, including mainstream presses.
Yeah.
So
Right.
it
That's of course
yeah
the irony, right? It's
yeah
like
yeah that
to be
it's
as
not.
far left as you want, but like you just barely tip over that right line and it's too far, right? Yeah. Uh,
So let's talk about marketing.
okay.
What is standing in the way other than content? So say you've got the content.
Okay.
What is standing in the way of spreading the gospel of male genre fiction? What's
Hey, that's a
standing in the way from getting new readers? What's standing in the way from marketing to them, convincing them to pick up the books, and convincing them to take the time to read them?
yeah, that's a great question. I think the thing that comes immediately to mind is that men have wandered off to a degree because they looked around and like, well, no, this is not interesting.
Video games,
Yeah.
pornography,
And
cell phones, and
yeah, right. And I mean, I think this is, I mean, this is probably true of I mean, women too, but you
yeah,
know, the audience looked at what, the male audience looked at what was, and the women who like to read these kind of books, right, too. I'll put kind of, if I may lump them together, looked at what was out there and they've, well, like I said, stuff is getting published, but it's a trickle
yeah.
and they wandered off to something else. And so now it is hard to use the channels that we have traditionally had for book promotion because they're
Mhm.
not looking there, right? Like you can get a big old display at the front of Barnes and Noble, but if like guys aren't walking through the doors of Barnes and Noble anymore, what good is that going to do you, right? And so I think that's a big part of it. I think obviously this kind of podcast, and thanks again for having me on,
My
and
pleasure.
BookTube and X and Book Talk probably, although like we're all so old, we're like scared to like peek into that. But um, but
I'm just not going to put it on my phone. It's bad
yeah,
for you. It's
right.
bad for you. Yes.
But like, so I think there are these channels, but so I think right the traditional channels, men are not looking at them anymore, and so that makes
Yeah.
it challenging. And then the other thing is, like I said earlier, is that just the signal to noise ratio with um so many presses and small, which in many ways is great for a flourishing of creativity and for diversity of it in the best sense of the word, but it just makes it hard to like know, it's like a fire hose. And so cutting through
Mhm.
that and reaching people, I think that's the challenge and what everyone is trying to figure out.
So what are you going to do?
Yeah, I don't know. Well, we're going to keep coming on this dad pod as often as you have us, right? No, that was sort of one of the ideas with the Gopherwood Lounge is, started earlier this year. We're slowly building an audience,
Yeah.
but to sort of have that be a place that is, not just a promotion machine, but is a place, the way we kind of thought of it is like, man, if we're interested in it, then people who would like the kind of books we're interested in would be interested in it, right?
Yeah, it's a human machine.
Yeah, exactly. And
You're establishing that the author or the editors and the press, that you're all human beings and that you care about the same things that they care about,
right.
which is what I like about you guys, to be
Oh, thanks.
perfectly honest.
Well, thank you. Thank you.
It's I really like that about you guys. I really like the emphasis on um, sort of a pro-American vision. And in addition to that, as I've told you, I meet a lot of authors who struggle to find a place for their stuff. And I mean, some of them have found places and they've been successful. James Wade I recently interviewed, and he's been very successful. I interviewed Daniel Friedman, who wrote a really great series about Buck Schatz, who's a Jewish detective in Memphis, Tennessee, who's
That's great.
is like has the most hilarious Borscht Belt sense of humor I've ever heard. And the problem I had was that I'd never heard of these people, right?
Yeah,
I had to go looking. I had to start a podcast and then go looking for them.
right.
And so to me, the challenge, not only the competition against um, what men are doing otherwise, uh, but also how to put the book in their hand is is very interesting to me, and so that's why I'm sort of intrigued, and I've been thinking about it a lot. And I think you guys are a very interesting press to be able to capture those metrics and to do something about trying to determine where men are buying, where it's successful, and so I'm just excited about that. I have ideas. I don't know if you want them right now, but
Yeah,
I can
we get
send
off
them
the
to
air.
you.
Well, I'd love to hear.
Yeah, when we get off the air, I'll tell you,
Yeah,
I'll
we would
give you
love to hear
some
it.
ideas. But I think that also you guys, so obviously you are a dadlit press from my perspective.
Yeah, absolutely.
Um, great to my joy that you've appeared just as I'm here.
Yeah, like I said, it is like something's happening, man. I mean that I think sincerely. Like, I think there is
I
something.
think it I think it was COVID. I
Yeah.
think COVID locked us all down, got us all nuts.
Hmm.
And then when we got out, our kids were kind of not engaged the way that we were as kids. They weren't outside as much. They weren't reading traditional novels like Old Yeller and Touchstone novels that we could relate to them and they could relate to us. And then on top of that, the ubiquity of screens
Hmm.
with fast images flying at your face has all combined to sort of, it's not even attention span, it's gratification. And I know you guys don't like to talk about them, but uh, one of the things that George R. R. Martin was able to do with his books was to create moments of reward
Hmm.
where patience paid off with sudden catastrophe and twist that was so powerful that it excited people.
Yeah,
And there's no other place where you can really do that than with books.
yeah,
And I think really to get male readers back on the horse is to create series that have that sort of potency, not of deconstruction, but of but of twist and payoff, where you walk away and you say, "Oh my God, I thought that guy was the main character, and they just chopped off his mother effing head."
yeah.
You know what I mean? Like
No, right. Yeah, I
that's
I think that's important. I think this is one thing, if I may, what we are interested in is uh what we're not doing, and many people
yeah,
are, and God bless them, and I wish them well. I'm saying that sincerely. It's just not something that we're doing. Is we're trying. We don't want to do the whole like right to market formulaic, boom, 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 and and I
yeah,
think and that's what people love. Some people love, and that's great, right? It's just that's not where our hearts are at, right?
yeah.
And I think so. As a result, I think it would. it would fail because we're not the audience for that as much. We might
Mhm.
try some rapid release stuff, don't get me wrong, but sort of, you know what I'm talking about. And
Yes.
I think, one thing that you said that I think was great is that, or hinted at in what you said, was that, novels and long series, but even just a single book, they aren't television shows or movies or a song or a poem or a TikTok video or a YouTube video or a podcast. It's its own form. It's or a comic book, right?
Yeah.
And a novel can do things that those other things either can't as well. Just like, man, nothing can get to an emotion quicker than a song, right? I mean, nothing.
Yeah.
Um, and so I guess my point is not that you should never try, but that there are things that are appropriate to different media, and
Yeah.
the novel is a really special thing, and we want to we want to publish books that play to those strengths of what a novel can do, and like you said, that reward that pull you along. That I don't, when you say patience, I don't mean that it's going to be boring for a while, but that reward spending hours on it, and
Yeah.
that you come away from it not thinking like I could have watched a billion YouTube videos in that time. But
Yeah. Never
but you
feel
know
that
what I
way.
mean? And so
Yes.
I think that's something that we believe in. Dave says the enterprise of literature. I think we all believe in novels and in books, and that they are important, and that while they do need to, like everything evolves and changes with the time. You can write some, what's the first one? Castle over Ronta, whatever it is. I write that old Gothic novel from 1700s or whatever.
Hmm.
That would read like, what in the world now? You do need to evolve, but that um, we still believe that there's a thing that that a novel can do, and we want to see books that do that,
Yeah.
rather than sort of um, try to make it into an action movie or something, right? Uh,
Yes.
that said, we're gonna publish books with a lot of action in them. So please don't get the idea that it's like a bunch of navel gazing, right?
Yes.
But yeah,
Well, David,
either way is fine. Yeah.
it's fascinating. I'm so excited. What instructions do you have for the dad literati from a submission and future buying perspective? Is everything going to be available on Amazon? Is everything,
Yeah,
what
yeah, yeah.
just basically go check out Larry Correa and check out his Kickstarter?
Yeah, please do. So if you go to ARK.press, you can sign up for our newsletter. There's also a submissions tab, which basically takes you to our submittable page, which has our guidelines if you're an author, or if you
Hmm.
want to enter the contest, those guidelines are there too. If you go to our X, it's ARK_press. I think the pinned tweet right now is to be notified about Larry's Kickstarter that's coming up September 9th. But yeah, we will start having books out. The graphic novel, which will ship as part of the Kickstarter accepted, like mid next year, probably like April, May-ish next year. We have bookstore distribution. We have a sales team, or well, we have a distributor that has a sales team. So it may well be you go into Barnes and Noble and you see one of our books there. If not, they can certainly order it for you. Um, will be on Amazon. We also will have a Shopify up on arc.press. You'll be able to buy everything from us directly, which I think for this podcast is appropriate to say, if you're able and interested to do that, we would appreciate it. That allows us to um, not give a piece of the pie
To Amazon.
Amazon or to the distributors
Yeah.
who deserve it, right? But
Yes.
by directly connecting, we can pay the authors more. So when the time comes, if you're so inclined, we would love for people to buy direct through ARC.press. So I think that hits it, most of it.
Oh, thank you, David. It's been a pleasure.
Well, thank you so much for having me on.
Our time together has come to an end. It's time to return to your wife, kids, and friends. It's time to pick up those books you forgot while you wait for the next Dad Lit Podcast.